Welcome back to MVM. Today we are going to be taking a look at the new game Card Bard coming soon from Griffen Games. Card Bard is a two-player asymmetric card game where you are taking on the role of bards trying to charm patrons in a tavern into giving you fame and ultimately glory. The game is played by choosing a bard to represent you. Each one of these bards has special powers and plays a specific type of instrument. Now, each one of these bards comes with a pre-built deck of cards that you can use for this game, or you're able to build your own deck of cards. You can always use cards of the same instrument that represent your bard, or you can use any amount of neutral cards. And if you'll see here in front of me, I do have this game set up. It's pretty easy to jump right into. You simply bring your deck of cards, you have your player board here, and your bard. Over the course of the game, you're going to be able to collect these fame tokens. The first player to reach 15 fame tokens is going to win the game. So there is a direct competition going on between the two players for those fame tokens. And there are ways, of course, to interact with the other player, sabotage what they're trying to do, and interrupt the flow of the game. Now, at the start of the game, you're going to have 6 cards in your hand. You can choose songs to start in your hand, but besides songs, you're going to have composition cards. Every song must be made up of a certain number of composition cards. And of course, these composition cards are all going to have their own abilities that are going to key off of each other in unique ways. On your turn, you're going to get to take a number of actions to play these cards out in front of you. The goal is to create some really great songs in order to trigger all of the abilities of the cards that are in that song and potentially interact with your opponent or score fame for yourself. You're also going to see over here 2 types of status tokens. And these are going to either inspire or dull a card, and you'll be able to play these on other opponents because you can kind of mess with their timeline of song cards by playing those. Now, every turn is fairly simple. You're going to follow down on this actions here, and it's going to tell you exactly what you can do. You start the game with 3 actions, and you can use this little action counter here to track that. Of course, you can earn more actions over the course of the game, but actions are very simple. You're either going to draw a card for an action or play a card for an action into your timeline. Now, there are a few rules here. Every song in your timeline must start with a song card. For example, I could play this song card out here in front of me. And this one is a little special. It says, I may ignore timeline restrictions. However, this song does still require 3 cards to be added to it before it can be considered complete. So that's kind of a special ability. This is one of the songs that is unique to this bard, and you'll recognize that by the color. You can use any number of these cards that match when you're building your deck. The rest of the cards will be neutral cards, and you'll see some neutral cards like this one here that has that little gray circle symbol in the middle. Now, playing composition cards is also an action. So if I had more actions, I could play some compositions onto that card. This one says draw the top card of your discard pile. So I'd be able to, refresh my hand with another card if I had a discard pile. And you'll see a variety of these that combo on. You may take 1 card from your retired pile and add it back to your hand. Over the course of the game, cards can be retired out of your deck completely. This card actually lets you draw those back in. Then I could play something, for example, like this composition here. Now, at this stage, I now have 3 compositions added to this song, so I have met the complexity value. So I've already gained my first fame. This song is complete. It's going to come down here into my catalog. Now, at the end of your turn, you can draw back up to your hand size, which is 6 cards. You can also choose to discard any cards that you don't like. So I could discard all these cards, and I can draw 6 more cards. Now, as you play the game, your opponent is going to be placing cards out in front of them as well, and you're going to be able to play cards that interact with your opponent's timeline. You're also going to be able to play cards that make them discard cards from their hand, cards that make them lose that fame that they've generated, or cards that add different status effects onto another player. And in fact, my bard here has a special ability. I can take an action and retire a card directly from my hand in order to skip my next player's draw phase. So they won't get to draw up to their starting hand limit at the end of their turn, which can be kind of detrimental. And all of these things are going to be kind of based on your deck. this Woodwinds deck here has a lot of abilities that let me draw cards. You saw a little bit of that drawing from the discard pile, drawing from the retired pile. Some of the other instruments are a little more aggressive, and they have cards that are going to make you discard cards from your timeline and just interact with you in different ways. In addition, you are going to see all of the icons listed here, including the accent cards. We haven't seen any in these starting decks, but you're going to have some cards that refer to whether they are the even or the odd card in the composition. So when building out these songs, play order matters because you're going to be triggering all these songs from left to right, usually with an intro and then a finale, unless you have a card like I did that was a little different. And you're going to be doing this turn after turn with each player taking their actions. And again, you're going to get 3 actions unless you find a way to increase your actions, which you could have a maximum of 6 actions per turn. And you're going to have a maximum of 6 cards in your hand, again, unless you find some way to increase that hand limit. Now, you can draw any number of cards during your turn by just taking those draw actions. If you have more than 6 cards in your hand at the end of the turn, you don't get to draw any. In fact, you have to discard back down until you only have 6 cards. Once you're done with all your actions, you'll reset your action counter, then the next player will take their turn. And gameplay is going to continue on back and forth with each player playing until they have 15 fame tokens, and then they win the game. Now, the real strategy of this game is in building that deck. I talked about the starter decks, which I'm using here in front of me, but when you build a deck, you can create endless amounts of combos. You can have 3 copies of any given card in your deck, and you can look for building specific songs. However, just because you have all the right ingredients for a song in your deck doesn't mean you're going to draw them in the right order. And there are a ton of different strategies, from doing a lot of small songs to try to get that 15 fame, or building out some really complex songs that take a lot more time. Really, the sky's the limit when it comes to your deck building options. And what you see here is just what I have in this kind of starter kit they gave out to content creators, but there is going to be a lot more included in the final version of the game. You're going to see more bards, you're going to see more types of cards than just the woodwinds and the stringed instruments. So take a look at the Kickstarter page because you're not going to want to miss all of that content. And as always, thank you for joining me here as we took a look at Card Bard. And please follow their Kickstarter page, but like, comment, subscribe to us here at MVM, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.
Congratulations, you got to the end of one of our videos. Now, if you want more practice, just click on the video over here. It's another video. You might not have seen it yet, so click on it. If you don't want to do that, at least click on the subscription button below. That always helps us. And if you want notifications, please ring that bell.